Tonight, the sensational trial that just finished. Why would a beloved family man suddenly disappear on his family and friends?
And then tell them not to come looking for him. The stunning courtroom confession on an all-new 2020 beginning right now.
I'm living in the Twilight Zone and I can hear the theme song going on. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
He opened the door and he was covered in blood.
He was here one moment, gone the next. There's no goodbye, there's no I'll talk to you later, there's no nothing. He was gone.
They were getting these weird messages.
Roses are red, violets are blue, my wife is a whore, your husband is too.
My family and I are begging you, asking for your assistance.
Nothing added up. Nothing made sense.
Had she ever mentioned anything about Mike, concerns about Mike?
She's sobbing. She's just, I know he's coming around. There's stuff, doors that were closed or open. And
Lori told her that Mike got picked up in a black SUV one day, never came back. And I started putting those pieces together.
It made it alarming. It gave me chills. Everything that had been happening for the last 2.5 years was likely a lie.
There was just more and more twists and turns.
They asked, well, when's the last time you seen him? And frankly, I said, years.
What?
This is Claremont, Florida, a rural community about 20 miles west of Orlando, but a world apart from the tourist-filled amusement parks. Michael and Lori Shaver were raising their 2 children here when his lifelong friend, Scott Amatuccio, started to get worried.
We were best friends. We were just always around each other. I could tell something was off. I just haven't heard from Mike for a while. I had texted him at some point in time. He never responded. And then I'm like, what's going on with Mike's Facebook? I go to his page and he wasn't even my friend anymore.
For friends so close, an unexplained social media slight like this was too strange to ignore. And it turns out Scott wasn't the only one worried.
I would get strange messages. We were just questioning it, like, is he having that many troubles that he has to turn away from his family?
The communication went down and it seemed to be it was just a text or a social media Facebook message.
We had conversations all the time about where's Mike?
Have you seen Mike? Have you heard from Mike?
Someone said Michael just took off in a black SUV and never came back. None of this adds up.
Clearly something wasn't right.
Michael was missing.
He was here one moment, gone the next, just gone.
Everybody's hair was raised, what's going on?
It was that concern that started the unraveling of a years-long mystery as deep and dark as the lakes that surround this place.
Hi, I'm Michael Shaver. Oh, there I am. That's me. See?
Michael grew up the 3rd child of 4 with his brother and 2 sisters in the tiny rural village of Lawrence in upstate New York.
Our relationship was a very special bond. My mom was a single mother, so I would help my mom out whenever she needed help with Michael. I would always put Michael first.
This is a photo of Mike and I. We're at my house that I grew up in. We would just have fun as kids, ride our bikes all day long and go on adventures, always playing around the neighborhood.
I built it all by myself.
He was great at playing drums. Eventually he learned to play guitar. We used to have this band. We called it Rifles and Dandelions instead of Guns N' Roses. That was our silly way of coming up with a band.
As a young man, Michael showed a talent for working with his hands.
I played with tools all my life. I believe that the genes were passed on to Michael because as a kid, he used to repair stuff around the house.
He would go around the town and people would actually give him stuff. He would fix it.
He may take an old bicycle or something and fix it up and make it work again for somebody. And it's like a sense of accomplishment, saying, I fixed that.
One time, him and his friend built an airplane out of wood in the backyard. And I swear if they'd had a motor, they would have taken off with it. It was really something. You should have seen it.
Michael's love of tinkering with things, I believe, led him to wanting to work on airplanes. And then as he got a little older, he wanted to learn how to fly.
Flying wasn't the only thing Michael loved. By the time he'd gotten to high school, his head was also in the clouds for Lori Paddleford, seen here in their yearbook.
We all grew up together. It was around 7th or 8th grade. Mike had a crush on Lori. He wanted to figure out the best way to ask her out. We had come up with this great idea of playing Boys to Men in the background. So that's how they ended up dating.
I don't think I really understood how serious it was until after they graduated. Then they were talking about marriage.
This is a picture of Mike and I at his wedding. I was his best man, and this was us together.
Their wedding was beautiful. Lori, she was so happy. I remember Michael couldn't stop smiling.
He eventually got his commercial pilot license, worked for Piedmont.
He loved it, and he used to take his friends up and do loop-de-loops with them, and they loved it.
Soon, Michael and Lori became parents to daughter Isabel and her younger brother Aiden. After moving up and down the East Coast, Michael and his family ended up in the Sunshine State.
When I moved down to Florida, it's when they moved down to Florida.
They moved to Claremont, bought a property, 5 acres. It's pretty rural. It's beautiful lakes, some rolling hills. It's pretty quiet.
He had chickens and guineas and turkeys and quite a few ducks, and he wanted them to have their own duck pond.
In his off hours, he worked as a mechanic for Precious Metal, a local flight team that performs and races all over the country.
We were both volunteers for the Precious Metal air racing team. Reno air racing has been compared to NASCAR of the sky. It's multiple planes on a closed course at one time. Speeds are up to 500 miles per hour. You're 50 feet off the ground. It's a huge adrenaline rush. We spent several years, several long nights, sometimes 3 days in a row working on the plane together. The people who described him as a genius, I would agree. He just took care of it. He knew that the job was going to be completed as it should.
Lori worked from home for an insurance company while Michael was away for days at a time working as a pilot. Wanting to be with his family more, Michael quit the airline business for another dream job, this one at the most magical place on Earth.
Mike and I worked at Epcot together. He was a mechanic.
Working at Disney was just his little kid inside, and he loved that job. You know, he was flourishing.
But then, for some reason, dependable Michael just stopped showing up.
He was here one moment, gone the next. No goodbye, no nothing.
It seemed Michael Shaver was blowing off his friends, his family, even his job.
When the manager contacted Mike, Mike's response was, "You can go ahead and fire me, I'm not coming back."
But if Michael Shaver wasn't coming back, where exactly was he going?